time for business, and I'm pleased to announce we have Kate Moody here. Kate, great to see you.
Hi, Mark.
The aviation giant Boeing has agreed to pay a fine for failing to comply with safety agreements. Tell us more, Kate.
Well, we've heard a lot about Boeing, mostly negative, it has to be said, in recent weeks and months. $6.6 million in penalties is what's just been announced by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration. The American regulator says the company failed to meet the requirements of a deal that was outlined in 2015, which is understood to have covered discrepancies with engineering and manufacturing performance metrics. It's not clear if it was directly related to the 737 MAX plane, which was involved in 2 deadly crashes. Boeing is, though, facing a growing number of headaches, including what could be hundreds of millions of dollars on repairing 787 Dreamline jets, the ongoing fallout from that 737 MAX scandal, as well as this weekend's engine failure on a 777 plane. Boeing shares dropped 5.6% on the news today. Well, that was part of a larger sell-off on Wall Street, which saw the tech-heavy NASDAQ plunge 3.5% lower in its worst closing drop since early October. The S&P 500 was down nearly 2.5% there. The Dow Jones shedding 560 points, down 1.7%. We saw shares of Facebook and Google's parent company Alphabet each down over 3% today. The Dow Jones, as we said, they're down over 500 points. The 10-year Treasury yield, meanwhile, jumped in what was known as a flash spike today. Earlier, the major European indices closed in the red. The DAX was down 0.7%. The CAC count about 0.25 percentage point here in Paris. Well, Twitter shares bucked that negative trend. They were up as much as 7% earlier, before settling up 3.5%. The social messaging site announced plans to double its annual revenue and increase its number of daily active users, the first time it's outlined such a long-term shakeup of its service. The changes will include new community-based offerings as well as super followers, which could allow users to subscribe to exclusive content from other tweeters. The company has seen slower growth against apps like TikTok, which cater to a younger demographic. Consumer morale in Germany has risen despite the ongoing lockdown. A survey showed the first monthly increase in consumer sentiment since October. But that trend could be at risk if the number of coronavirus infections isn't halted, as Luke Schrager reports.
A familiar sight for months now. Closed shops and commerce all but stalled, particularly following a tough lockdown in Germany at the end of last year. However, a research institute has indicated there could be about to be a release of pent-up demand.
Die finanziellen Mittel für den Konsum nicht so schlecht sind, denn viele Verbraucher konnten zuletzt ja keinen Urlaub machen, können nicht in Restaurants gehen. Das heißt, hier sind finanzielle Mittel nicht ausgegeben worden. Die stehen natürlich jetzt auch für den Einzelhandel dann zur Verfügung, zu einem Teil zumindest. Deshalb kann man durchaus davon ausgehen, dass es doch zu einem beträchtlichen Nachholeffekt kommen wird.
Germany shut down bars, restaurants, gyms and cultural centres in November before adding schools and non-essential businesses the next month. Despite the measures, the economy still grew 0.3% in the fourth quarter compared to the previous 3 months. However, it's not yet exactly clear when coronavirus restrictions will loosen, with fears for half of businesses hit by the lockdown facing bankruptcy without an injection of state aid.
Bezogen auf den Innenstadthandel ist die Lage noch dramatischer. Hier liegt der Wert bei 60%. Das sind, wie gesagt, dramatische Ergebnisse, die deutlich machen, dass jetzt eine passgenaue und schnelle staatliche Unterstützung und vor allen Dingen auch eine Öffnungsperspektive erforderlich ist. Sonst wird in vielen Innenstädten in den kommenden Wochen eher das Licht ausgehen.
Either way, Germany and Europe as a whole will ultimately need to wean the economy off COVID relief. Economists have warned keeping weak businesses afloat in such a way could turn them into so-called zombie companies, which are neither productive nor competitive.
An appeals court in southern France has ordered insurance company AXA to pay a restaurant owner all the earnings that he lost during the pandemic. It's now the second court to rule in favor of that restaurant in Marseille. The case could still head to France's top court. Thousands of restaurants, cafes, and other businesses have sought damages from their insurance companies since the country first went into lockdown nearly a year ago. Judges have issued varying rulings, but this was the first at an appeals level. AXA says around 15,000 French businesses have similar contracts. The case could set a precedent and open the door to major payouts by a number of insurance companies to come. EU leaders have been holding talks on the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines, travel restrictions, and the possibility of introducing a vaccine passport. They're hoping to better coordinate their approach to the pandemic and to set the stage for an economic recovery. Now, the UK is not involved in those talks, and it's outlined its own plan to ease lockdown measures and potentially allow international travel from mid-May. It's led to a boom in holiday bookings this week, with European destinations still very much in demand.
Spain's beaches have long been a draw for British tourists, and with the UK government announcing a roadmap out of lockdown this week after months of travel restrictions, the allure is still very much there.
Si tomamos las reservas de la semana pasada, mismo día, hemos aumentado un 565% más en reservas. Así que y son reservas de británicos.
Travel firms and airlines from Thomas Cook to TUI all reported an explosion in bookings, with top destinations including Spain, Greece, Portugal and Turkey. However, there's still uncertainty over whether or not the UK will be able to meet its May 17th deadline for permitting international travel, particularly with newer coronavirus variants sparking concern in Europe. And for now, little having been done to standardise an approach to restarting mass travel.
You won't just be worrying about whether you can get back into this country, you'll be worrying about whether you can go to the country that you want to go and visit. And if you have to have different sets of checks and tests for coming back into the UK than going to that country, it's just going to make it very complicated and difficult to get your head around, particularly if it keeps on changing.
There's been talk of vaccine passports, like the one Israel's issued for domestic use, though a common approach will likely be needed on an international level, with an extra layer of complication added through the UK's departure from the EU. Even as travel firms and airlines hope to salvage something of this year after a 2020 loss to COVID, it seems like sun-seeking Brits they'll have to wait for final approval at the state level first.
So some good news for EasyJet then, Kate. Thank you very much indeed. Kate Moody with The Business. Who could want for more? Stay with us. More to come live from Paris.